What's up, guys? When you think about the World Cup, what usually comes to mind first? Zidane's header, Maradona's solo run, or Cristiano Ronaldo's tears? Soccer has always been built to celebrate the players who put the ball into the net. A striker misses 9 chances, then scores the 10th in the 90th minute. He makes the front page and becomes a national hero. A goalkeeper makes spectacular saves for 89 minutes, then spills the ball in the 90th. He becomes the villain and gets torn apart on social media. That's how unforgiving the goalkeeper's job can be. However, there's an old saying in soccer that you've probably heard countless times. Attack wins games, but defense wins championships. To win the World Cup, you need someone inside the goal who can be trusted when everything is on the line. Recognizing how thankless but important this position was, FIFA introduced a separate award for goalkeepers in 1994, the Lev Yashin Award, which was later given the simpler name Golden Glove in 2010. Today, let's sit down with a beer or a glass of iced tea and take a closer look at the profiles of 8 extraordinary goalkeepers who've won this award. Forget the empty praise because we're going to break down how they actually performed, how they carried their teams, and why the forwards in front of them might have ended up in tears without their help. Let's begin. Before we go through these 8 big names, we need to talk about the original name of the award, Lev Yashin. Why didn't FIFA name it after Gordon Banks or Dino Zoff instead of a goalkeeper from the Soviet Union? The answer is simple. Lev Yashin remains the only goalkeeper in soccer history to win the European Ballon d'Or, which he received in 1963. Let me emphasize that, the Ballon d'Or. These days, simply seeing a goalkeeper finish in the top 3 would already feel like a historic achievement. Yashin was nicknamed the Black Spider because he usually wore an all-black uniform on the field. However, what made Yashin special wasn't the color of his jersey, but the way he understood the game. During the 1950s and 1960s, most goalkeepers stayed close to the goal line, waited for the ball to arrive, and then tried to catch it. Yashin was different. He actively rushed outside his penalty area to clear the ball, and he was one of the first goalkeepers to launch fast counterattacks with powerful throws instead of simply kicking the ball forward without a clear target. What does that mean? It means Yashin was already playing as a sweeper keeper more than half a century before Neuer made the entire world pay attention to that style. That's why naming the award after him made perfect sense, and there wasn't much anyone could argue about. 1. Michel Preud'homme, World Cup 1994. The 1994 World Cup in the United States was the first time this award was presented. When you look at the candidates from that tournament, champion Brazil had Taffarel, who was extremely reliable in penalty shootouts, while runner-up Italy had Pagliuca. However, FIFA gave the award to Belgium's Michel Preud'homme, even though Belgium was eliminated in the round of 16. Why? Because Preud'homme genuinely carried that team on his back. Belgium played extremely practical soccer in 1994, and to be honest, the squad was fairly ordinary without many major stars. Preud'homme was only 1.83 meters tall, or about 6 feet, which was slightly undersized for a European goalkeeper, but he could explode off the ground like a spring. In the group stage, Belgium defeated Morocco 1-0 and the Netherlands 1-0. The match against the Netherlands became one of the defining performances of his career. Dutch forwards such as Dennis Bergkamp kept firing from long range, close range, and with headers, but the curly-haired goalkeeper stopped everything they sent toward him. Belgium reached the knockout stage almost entirely because of its defense and Preud'homme's outstanding form. After the tournament, he won the Lev Yashin Award and immediately announced his retirement from international soccer. It was almost as if he were saying, "I've carried you guys long enough, and now it's time for me to rest." Walking away at the top was a pretty smart decision. 2. Fabien Barthez, World Cup 1998. Next came the 1998 World Cup in France. When people remember that French team, they usually think about Zidane scoring twice in the final. However, if you ask soccer experts, the foundation of France's 1998 championship was its rock-solid defense. The final barrier was Fabien Barthez. Barthez was a very interesting case. He was only 1.80 meters tall, or about 5 feet 11 inches, and he was also nearsighted, which meant he sometimes had to wear contact lenses while playing. His goalkeeping style could be a little cocky and unpredictable, and he sometimes tried things that made the fans extremely nervous. However, at the 1998 World Cup, Barthez remained incredibly focused. France won the tournament while conceding only 2 goals, including 1 penalty and 1 goal in the semi-final that involved an offside mistake. Barthez's tactical strength was his ability to play the ball with his feet, which was impressive for that era, along with his fearlessness in one-on-one situations. His biggest test came in the quarterfinal against Italy. The match went to a penalty shootout and the pressure was enormous, but Barthez read Albertini's shot brilliantly and helped France advance. Of course, we also have to mention the French team's spiritual ritual. Before every match, captain and center-back Laurent Blanc would hold Barthez's bald head and give it a kiss. Nobody knows whether there was any real magic involved, but the ritual certainly accompanied France through one of the strongest defensive tournaments in World Cup history. Barthez comfortably walked away with the Lev Yashin Award. 3. Oliver Kahn, World Cup 2002. Now let's move to the 2002 World Cup in South Korea and Japan. That tournament had plenty of refereeing controversy, but there's one fact nobody can seriously dispute. Oliver Kahn was an absolute force that year. Germany's 2002 squad was weak in several areas. They really were, guys. Outside of Michael Ballack in midfield, Germany seriously lacked creativity. Their style was dry, physical, and difficult to watch at times. They would score 1 goal and then give their opponents control of the field. Why were they willing to play that way? Because Oliver Kahn was behind them. On the field, Kahn looked like the soccer version of the boogeyman. His face always seemed filled with anger. Whenever a German defender marked someone too loosely, Kahn would run over, grab him by the shirt, and yell directly in his face without caring who it was. You rarely see a modern goalkeeper intimidate both his own teammates and opposing forwards the way Kahn did. Kahn kept 5 clean sheets and dragged Germany into the final through a series of dull 1-0 victories over Paraguay, the United States, and South Korea. Against the United States, Kahn personally stopped almost everything Landon Donovan sent toward the goal. However, soccer can be cruel because the man who carried his team for an entire month lost control of the ball in the final. Rivaldo's long-range shot wasn't especially dangerous, but Kahn spilled it, allowing Ronaldo to rush in and finish the chance. Germany lost 2-0. The image of Kahn sitting against the goalpost after the match, completely stunned, became a symbol of heartbreak. Despite the defeat, FIFA still awarded him the Lev Yashin Award. Kahn also became the only goalkeeper in history to receive the World Cup Golden Ball as the tournament's best player. The reason was simple. Without Kahn, Germany might have been eliminated in the group stage. 4. Gianluigi Buffon, World Cup 2006. In 2006, Italian soccer was sinking into the scandal known as Calciopoli, which involved allegations of match manipulation. Buffon's Juventus had its title taken away and was relegated to Serie B. The Italian players traveled to Germany for the World Cup under enormous pressure while facing heavy criticism from people back home. However, the Italians have always had one special quality: the more pressure they face, the harder they seem to play. Coach Marcello Lippi created a modern version of the Catenaccio defensive system. Just imagine the players standing in front of Buffon, Cannavaro, who would later win the Ballon d'Or, along with Materazzi, Zambrotta, and Grosso. However, no matter how good the defenders were, the ball occasionally made it through. That was when Buffon stepped in. At 28 years old, which is close to the ideal age for a goalkeeper, Buffon didn't waste a single movement during that tournament. He remained incredibly calm. Italy conceded only 2 goals during the entire competition. One was an own goal by Zaccardo, and the other was Zidane's penalty in the final. What does that mean? It means no opposing player scored against Buffon from open play during the entire World Cup. That was an incredible achievement. Buffon's most valuable save didn't come in the group stage, but during extra time in the final. Zidane powered a header toward the top of the goal, but Buffon launched himself into the air and used one hand to push the ball over the crossbar. That save was worth as much as a winning goal. Buffon received the Lev Yashin award, silenced the doubts, and helped lift Italian soccer from one of its lowest moments to the top of the world. 5. Iker Casillas, World Cup 2010. At the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, the award was renamed the Golden Glove. The winner was Spain's captain, Iker Casillas. At that time, Spain controlled world soccer with its tiki-taka style. They regularly held 70 to 80% of the possession and passed the ball around until their opponents were exhausted. Many people said, if the players up front control the ball all the time, what does the goalkeeper even have to do? That couldn't have been more wrong. One weakness of a possession-based system is its vulnerability to fast counterattacks. Whenever Spain's defensive line pushed high up the field, Casillas frequently had to deal with dangerous one-on-one situations. Take another look at Spain's knockout stage run that year. They defeated Portugal 1-0, Paraguay 1-0, Germany 1-0, and the Netherlands 1-0. Those were 4 victories by the smallest possible margin. Spain's attackers missed plenty of chances, and the team survived because Casillas didn't concede a single goal during the knockout rounds. In the quarterfinal against Paraguay, Casillas saved Oscar Cardozo's penalty while the score was still 0-0. However, the moment that turned Casillas into Saint Iker came in the final. In the 62nd minute, Sneijder sent a through ball directly through Spain's defense. Arjen Robben, one of the fastest players in the world at the time, had half the field in front of him as he ran toward Casillas. Robben used the inside of his foot and sent the ball away from the direction Casillas was moving. Based on the goalkeeper's momentum, the ball should have gone into the net. However, even after committing in the wrong direction, Casillas somehow stretched out the tip of his cleat and touched the ball wide of the post. Without that toe save, Spain's tiki-taka system might have fallen to the Netherlands' practical style of soccer. The Golden Glove was the perfect recognition for an outstanding captain. 6. Manuel Neuer, World Cup 2014. Germany won the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, and Manuel Neuer received the Golden Glove. Unlike the goalkeepers who came before him, Neuer didn't simply make great saves. He changed the way the world approached soccer tactics. Germany played with an aggressive high press in 2014. Defenders such as Mertesacker were tall and powerful, but they weren't especially quick when turning or chasing attackers. To cover the enormous space behind his defensive line, coach Joachim Löw allowed Neuer to operate almost like a third center back. The term sweeper keeper truly became popular during this tournament. Neuer's confidence and talent were on full display in the round of 16 against Algeria. Every time Algeria played a long ball over Germany's defense, their forwards would look up and see a huge goalkeeper wearing bright green charging far outside his penalty area, sometimes all the way toward the center circle, to head the ball away, make a sliding tackle, or play a pass like a midfielder. Neuer's heat map from that match looked almost like the map of a central midfielder. Neuer was exceptional with the ball at his feet, and he could play accurate passes along the ground with either foot, helping Germany escape pressure from inside its own half. He was already outstanding with his hands, but his ability with his feet made him even more valuable. Neuer expanded the definition of a complete goalkeeper, and the 2014 Golden Glove confirmed the arrival of a new era for the position. 7. Thibaut Courtois, World Cup 2018. At the 2018 World Cup in Russia, Belgium arrived with a fully developed golden generation, featuring De Bruyne, Eden Hazard, and Lukaku. They played smooth attacking soccer, but behind them stood a genuine tower, Thibaut Courtois, who was 2 meters tall. The usual weakness of extremely tall goalkeepers is that they can be slow when diving and sometimes struggle against low shots. Courtois didn't have that problem. His arms and legs were surprisingly flexible for someone his size. During that tournament, many teams saw their crossing and heading strategies completely fail against Belgium because almost every ball sent into the penalty area was comfortably collected by Courtois. One of the more amusing parts of Courtois' tournament was how he shut down England's attack, especially Harry Kane, during both meetings between the two teams. After spending years playing for Chelsea in the Premier League, Courtois was already familiar with almost everything the English forwards wanted to try. However, Courtois' defining moment in Russia came during the intense quarter-final against Brazil. In the 93rd minute, Neymar curled a beautiful right-footed shot toward the top corner. Everyone thought it was going in. Somehow, Courtois extended his enormous arm and used only his fingertips to push the ball over the crossbar. Brazil packed its bags and went home, while Courtois proudly collected the Golden Glove after recording the most saves in the tournament with 27.8. Emiliano Martinez, World Cup 2022. Finally, we arrive at the 2022 World Cup. This was the tournament that completed Lionel Messi's career. However, you need to understand one thing. Messi could score and create goals, but he owed Thibaut Martinez an enormous debt for helping bring the World Cup trophy back to Argentina. Thibaut wasn't the elegant and calm type of goalkeeper represented by Buffon or Casillas. His career had moved extremely slowly, as he spent 10 years sitting on Arsenal's bench and being sent out on loan to different clubs. Thibaut didn't receive a real opportunity until he was almost 30 when Bernd Leno suffered an injury. He finally became the starter, moved to Aston Villa, and then earned his place with the national team. At Qatar 2022, Thibaut showed the entire world what the dark arts of soccer looked like. Modern soccer often focuses so heavily on tactical data that people forget about basic human psychology. Thibaut was an expert in street-level mind games. During the decisive penalty shootouts against the Netherlands in the quarterfinal and France in the final, Thibaut used every psychological trick he had, throwing the ball away so an opponent had to retrieve it, shouting and waving his arms, arguing with the referee, and dancing after saves to frustrate the next shooter. These tactics made even young players with experience at Europe's biggest clubs feel the pressure, causing them to miss or take weak shots that Thibaut could save. His approach was so effective that FIFA introduced new rules after the tournament to prevent goalkeepers from using certain distractions before penalties. When the rules change because of one player, you know he's different. However, don't let the mind games distract you from Thibaut's outstanding goalkeeping ability. His left leg save against Kolo Muani's powerful shot in the 123rd minute of the final deserves its own statue in Buenos Aires. Had that ball gone into the net, there wouldn't have been a penalty shootout, and France would have become world champion. Thibaut's celebration with the Golden Glove might have offended some people, and opposing fans might have hated him, but he didn't care. His job was to play the villain, protect his goal, and help his team win, and he completed that job brilliantly. When you look back at these 8 winners of the Lev Yashin Award or Golden Glove, 5 of them, Barthez, Buffon, Casillas, Neuer, and Martinez, also lifted the World Cup trophy that same year. A soccer team can win a match through a lucky long-range shot or a perfectly organized passing move. However, to survive an intense month-long knockout tournament and reach the very end, you need a goalkeeper who doesn't freeze under pressure. He might be a traditional shot stopper with incredible reflexes, a sweeper keeper who can play with his feet, or even a master of psychological warfare. No matter the style, the goalkeeper can represent 50% of a team's strength. A striker can disappear for 89 minutes and then score 1 goal. But if a goalkeeper loses focus for 1 second, the entire team might be packing its bags and heading home. Today's video has already been a long one, so which Golden Glove winner from World Cup history impressed you the most? Who delivered the greatest carry job? Leave your answer in the comments below and join the discussion. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to support the channel and help us make more in-depth videos like this one. I'm Dram. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.